go. Right, they can hear me. Welcome to the live. It's me, Professor NAMI, aka Professor Molly. But don't forget, I ain't your mother. It's reflecting. We don't want to hear that. Let me get the inserts for you started. Listen now. Today is going to be an interesting topic. It's about Queen Nefertiti of the Amarna period, Akhenaten's wife, the great royal wife, the one that everyone likes to talk shit about, but they don't even know the full facts. So we're gonna get deep, dive deep into the life and throne of Queen Nefertiti. A lot of people say she was a bad mother, but she wasn't a bad mother. She may have been cutthroat. She doesn't mean she's a bad mother. She loved all of her children, even her son that's not biologically her. She raised her as her own, and she prepared him for the throne when his father, Akhenaten, died. All right, we're going to start from the beginning. Queen Nefertiti, you can see? She was the great royal wife and co-pharaoh of Akhenaten. Queen Nefertiti did not come from royalty, even though it's rumors that her father, which was a court official in the royal court, a piece of shit, rumor said that he's her father and her mother died while giving birth to her. Queen Nefertiti had, what was the term? Let me look it up. I have all my information here because it didn't fit in my board. Because, like I said, she had a wet nurse named T that raised her since she came out. It's been rumors that her mother was killed, her mother died. Regardless, she did not grow up with a loving mother. She did not grow up with a loving family. She had a wet nurse when she was a kid, like a nanny, that breastfed her, took care of her. Her mother was killed and or died at her birth. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation, and we all know I is a liar. Anyways, she did not have her mother. She did not know what a mother's love is, and she still loved all of her children unconditionally. She was raised by a piece of shit father, a court official who was very close to the royals at the time, and Menhoten III and Queen T, which is the mother and father of Akhenaten. Like I said, her mom died when she was not even old enough to remember her. She didn't grow up with a mother. She didn't grow up with an example. So when I see people talk about her and say all these mean things, it upsets me because how can you talk about something you never experienced? How can you talk and not have grace when she done all these amazing things? Yes, she had her flaws. Yes, she had her days. However, she loved her children, and that was proven. And I'm going to prove it again today. Her father, the piece of shit, was thirsty for a higher royal rank. But he was not born royal. And Queen Nefertiti was not born royal either. This claims that I was the cousin / brother of Queen T, but there's no confirmations of this. She was not born royal. She had no real relations to the pharaohs except for the fact that her father, was a court official. Are you listening? This Queen Nefertiti changed a lot of rules. The only female pharaoh before her was Hatshepsut, who presented herself as a man, and after she passed on, they tried to erase her legacy. She changed a lot of rules, and she had a high rank, equal ranking as her husband, Pharaoh Akhenaten. She wore a tall blue crown like a pharaoh would and rode in her own chariot, while many other great royal wives always was on the side of their pharaoh husband. She wanted her own crown, she wanted her own chariot, and even with the artwork, Where did I write that? I don't think. Yeah, she wanted her carvings and her statues the same height as her husband Akhenaten's. Most people that have and are familiar with ancient Kemetic history knows that the royal wife statues was mainly just a face and a very small body to represent her statue and authority. Queen Nefertiti said, I want my statues, my carvings, to be the same height as my husband's. And he agreed on it. He even gave her co-pharaoh role. So everyone in civilization had to respect her as if she was pharaoh. She was co-pharaoh, appointed by Pharaoh Akhenaten. And right here, I drew it right here. I don't know if you guys can see. This is Aten, the sun god, as depicted in plenty of the art of Akhenaten and Nefertiti back in the days. Let me show you some pictures. Give me a second. Up close of Queen Nefertiti and the sun god Aten. And you can see the baby girl there at the bottom. And this one is my favorite artwork of Queen Nefertiti. It's very broken because, like I said, they tried to erase her because she had such a high power for a woman that was considered taboo at that time. But this is a picture. If you look very closely, you'll see her on the boat, and you'll see her with a knife to another woman's head, and her grabbing her hair and literally dragging her like a dog. A lot of people said that the woman said something wrong. A lot of people said she did something. Question. Oh, here, hold it. A lot of people said she did something. All I know is she chose the wrong action in the wrong day. She was grabbed by the hair like this, drugged down, and she put her knife to her forehead. And someone, I don't know, one of the scribes or the artisans decided it would be a cute carving, a cute art piece for the future. But I believe the artist was trying to explain how ruthless, how fearless Queen Nefertiti was. She didn't take any back talk. You thought you could get one over, you would be sent to the lions or stabbed in front of everyone, and everyone will have to go about their day and pretend nothing has happened. Because of that, she was feared by a lot of people. But that doesn't necessarily mean she was a bad person. She is still a beauty standard to this day. And she also made her own offerings to Aten, which was taboo back in the days because if you wanted to make offerings to a deity or a god, you had to have your husband present. Nefertiti also means the beautiful one has come. Queen Nefertiti and Akhenaten was a power couple. They hold many ceremonial meetings, monuments, built a lot of things together, conquered a lot of together. That's why the Amarna period is one of the most popularized periods in ancient Kemet history, because of how solid they was and how much of a team there was and how much they valued their marriage. They believed in staying together through thick and thin. And things was good until it wasn't good. Let me explain. They had 6 daughters, Queen Nefertiti and Akhenaten. Number 1, Meretapten. Number 2, Meketaten, which died as a young child. Number 3, Akhenaten, the woman who became great royal wife to Tut. Number 4, Nefertiti Tasherit. Number 5, Nefertari. Number 6, Setefineri. And she had Tut in between after Akhenaten but she didn't have Tut. One of Akhenaten's concubines, Kaya, gave birth to a son. Back in those days, Pharaoh was allowed to have concubines and second wives. This upset Nefertiti. At first, she didn't care because she was the great royal wife, and not only that, co-pharaoh, so she had more power over the other wives. However, and they was never around with do meetings, show up as people. They didn't have any power. Their only power was that they was a bed slave to Akhenaten. She could not produce a heir to the throne. The heir to the throne is a boy child. Most pharaohs are men. She gave him 6 daughters. And guess who decided to give him, well, who decided, not, she didn't really decide. What happened was Akhenaten ended up getting his concubine, which turns out to be his full-blood sister, Kaya, pregnant. Kaya gave birth to King Tut. And Queen Nefertiti doesn't get jealous of many things, but she tried her hardest to produce an heir to the throne, and that was something she did not accomplish. No matter how many pregnancies failed and completed, she couldn't give him a son. So this bedwench gave him a son, which happened to be his full-blood sister. And when you are fully bled, same DNA, and you mix and produce with the same exact DNA, you're gonna have an inbred and disabled child. There's no way around it. King Tut was very popular, still to this day, but he was born inbred and disabled. He walked with a cane because he had clubfoot, a bone disorder, scoliosis, and a cleft palate. Because of these disables and because of how inbred he was, he only died. He didn't live long. He died when he was 19 years old, leaving Akhenaten a great wife by herself. She was jealous that the bedwench could give one thing that she couldn't give him. She gave him everything else. They conquered everything else. They were a team of everything else. But she could not bear a son. Some people say it's karma. Some people say it's life. I say it's both. So what did Queen Nefertiti do? After King Tut was born, she killed Kaya and she disappeared from Kemet, the city of Akhenaten, forever. That was the last time she was seen, body, never found. She was heartbroken. She loved Akhenaten. She held him to a higher standard. And before King Tut was born, there was no outside children, even though she knew there was other bedwenches and concubines in their marriage. She was the only one that had Akhenaten's children. So now, this bedwench, who just so happened to be his full-blood sister, the same one smiling at the royal wedding, gave birth to his only son. She was enraged, and she got rid of her. But she made sure she raised King Tut and trained him to be pharaoh after his father, Akhenaten, passed away. Is that something a bad mother would do? Speak. If she was a bad mother, she would have gotten rid of the mother and the child. Instead, even though she did get rid of the mother, she kept the child, the boy child, and raised him as her own. She was always loyal to Akhenaten, despite the rumors. Queen Nefertiti was very loved in the city of Akhenaten. All of the officials loved her. A lot of attention from males that were often angered the pharaoh. After King Tut was born, she started getting her own concubines. I know it's controversial. I guess she was petty. But I don't know. I want to say something, but I'm not. But before the birth of King Tut, she was absolutely in love, enamored, and loyal to King Akhenaten, even though she knew of his external affairs. She was the only one who bred his children until King Tut was born, of course. But let's move on. Queen Nefertiti was feared by many. Once a woman challenged her, and she was reported in the art painting, smiting at the enemy, grabbed her by her hair, and put a knife to her head. Everyone was scared to cross her because they knew there would be consequences to their actions. After Akhenaten passed away, she trained King Tut to prepare in his place. But before he was ready, she, at one point, was pharaoh. For approximately 45 years, she went from co-pharaoh to pharaoh. And while she was pharaoh, she was training King Tut to step into his place as the heir of the throne. Like I said, Queen Nefertiti was in the back mom. She did her best. She never had a mother. All she had was a clout, money-hungry piece of shit father named I, who, coincidentally enough, after the death of King Tut, became ruler at his old age and passed only 3 years on the throne. See how karma works? It's funny because history always has a funny way of repeating itself. Was a piece of shit then, and even reincarnated today. A fat, big piece of shit now. Funny. Moving along. How can this information be implemented into New Kemet? Like Hatshepsut, she was a proud woman pharaoh, and she proved that women pharaohs can do the same thing that male pharaohs can. She proved women can have true executive power. Though she wasn't born royal, she was born Kemetic, which means she is still eligible to roll to the throne and move in higher rank, which we would be doing the same thing in New Kemet. If you're born Kemetic, if you have Kemetic blood, you can be pharaoh. However, if you're not, you cannot be pharaoh. She also had different open-air concepts for the temples. She used natural solar light, natural cooling systems, and open palaces so you could see from the sky to Aden. She had royalty treating and loving. She popularized her and Akhenaten loving on their children. Back then, royal families did not hug, kiss their children. There is a painting, a carving, I'm going to say, of Nefertiti and Akhenaten hugging and kissing their children. And we look for it right now. Oh, it's right here. Here's the carving of Pharaoh Akhenaten, right there. Sun god Aten, and Queen Nefertiti holding their children and kissing them, which back then was taboo. Back then, any form of public affection was absolutely unacceptable. You see him? He's holding one, and she's holding another, and then there's a third one. I think that's Akhenaten on her shoulder. They changed the game as we know it. And they worked together as a team until, like I said, infidelities. She wasn't a bad mother. She was a scorned wife. She's heartbroken by the actions of her husband she loved daily. How would you feel if your husband the one that you trusted, even though you knew about his external affairs, comes in with the hair, and you've done nothing but try to provide that, and that was the only thing he was not able to. You will feel the way too. They had a co-leadership. They worked as a team, and she did love him. Now let's move on to the rest of the history. She also balanced political power with royal human warmth, still being strong, but still loving her husband and kids openly. But you knew not to cross her or you'll be sent to the lions. Or you'll be stabbed. Very good. Yeah. Now, let's talk about the tragic ending of Queen Nefertiti's life. Like I said, she was always loyal to Akhenaten. She never dealt with anyone but him. However, after King Tut was born, she was scorned and she started dealing with a side dude. She had her own concubines. She was heavily desired by other men. So she said, since my husband doesn't appreciate me, I guess you will. We'll talk about him tomorrow. He doesn't deserve. This is about her today. Long story short, after King Tut was placed on his throne, she was kidnapped and killed by her side dude. Hence why her tomb and body was never found. She was murdered by her concubine in order for him to try to squeeze into power, which worked until I took the throne. Sad, but true. After she passed, King Tut made her a famous bust that is in Berlin, Germany to this day. And I would like to make a public service announcement. The royal bust in Germany will be returned to New Kemet when the time is right. All right, just have to put that out there. And I wrote all this to say, she was not a perfect ruler, she was not perfect, but she loves her city, the people, and her children, and her husband. A lot of scientists and researchers believe that her tomb is hidden in plain sight. A lot of people theorize that her tomb, her body, was in King Tut's tomb, Akhenaten's tomb, all these different places, but till this day, they still have not found her body or her tomb because all of the theories are wrong. She was murdered and killed by one of her concubines. Question?
Has a tomb?
Yes. She was murdered and killed by her concubine who wanted the throne, envious. And that brings me to the $1 million question. Why does men get jealous of women in power? Question, answer, or your question?
I have to answer. Because I feel like they'll lose their power.
But he never had power.
And she's at there, I think it's because they need power. And they want the power.
They need the power and they want the power. Good answer. Now I have some questions for you before we go down the royal ring.
Yes.
Nefertiti is shown in some carvings striking down an enemy. Why were only pharaohs allowed to do in Egyptian art? Why do you think artists chose to show her that way?
To show, let me see.
Like again,
To show not to cross her.
Maybe, but I believe that she was drawn and carved that way to prove her status as co-pharaoh
is high.
Very high. Next question. If a queen helped rule a country as much as a king did, but historians can't say for certain because so much evidence was destroyed, Should we call her a ruler? Why or why not?
I think that we should call her ruler because I have a feeling that she did because I know that she did rule with her husband and that she was a good ruler.
Indeed.
I was there.
Like I said before, it was taboo for women to have this extreme amount of power. And that ties into the first question because I believe the reason that person carved her that way, doing that to that woman, is to prove the immense power her husband Akhenaten granted her as co-pharaoh. Moving along, Nefertiti disappears from records. Then a mysterious ruler named Nefertiti appears. If you were a detective, what other clues would you want to solve this 3,500-year mystery?
I would want but if I were a detective, I would actually go and observe myself.
What was that?
I would actually go and observe myself. But if it's all fake, because I'm calculated by blood, I could remember because I am Uncle Sweetie.
Okay. Like I said, they tried to erase her like they tried to erase Akhenaten, but you cannot erase a city, especially a city that thrives and had actual accurate scribes, artisans, as well as nobles, court officials to back up all of the claims that was done. Nefertiti's bust lived in Germany for over 100 years, but it was discovered in Kemet, which is, by the way, in the Americas. Egypt is a tourist attraction. Egypt was not where the real ancient Egypt was. It was here in the Americas, right by the Mississippi, aka the Nile River. That's where Egypt was. That's where the river started. It started from there. That was Upper Egypt, and went down to the Grand Canyon, which is where we was at. Akhenaten. Yes.
And it's not in Africa. They just made fake stuff about it.
No, they moved all the monuments that was here, the colonizers found here, to Egypt and named it to the part in Africa and named it Egypt and lied so they could keep the history but erase it from our knowledge. Egypt was not a thing. Kemet was a thing. Kemet means black land. And if the Egyptians weren't black, which may be true, why is all the pictures depict that they are people of color, people who worship the sun? Many white people cannot stay in the sun for long periods of time.
Because they'll burn.
They'll get burnt and burned. So why do people think that no, black land and people, the Caucasians, the Greeks, the Arabics did not like people of black, so they changed the word Kemet to Egypt to fill their narrative and confuse and destroy what was already here. Like I said, Hatshepsut was before her. And do you see how they treated Hatshepsut? And she did a lot of great expeditions and a lot of great contributions. And they tried to erase her just as they did to Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Why do you think they tried so hard to erase them from history?
So they could have power.
Yes, because they were A, jealous, and B, they did not want other women to try to step up as pharaohs.
Because back then I was like, I forgot what was the word called? Tango?
Taboo.
Taboo.
Hold on, let me get back to my lesson plan. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to Queen Nefertiti, the great royal life of the city of Akhenaten. But one thing's for sure, and one thing's for certain. She was an excellent ruler. She loved her people. She loved holding events at the palace. She loved holding meetings. She loved helping people. She loved being there for her city. She loved her husband. She loved her family. She loved her kids. She never had a mother, only a wet nurse and a nanny, which is basically the same thing. And she was raised by a piece of shit father who was close to the royals, Amenhotep III and Queen T. who would do anything to go up in rank. What support system did she have besides Akhenaten? She was surrounded by only his family. She didn't come from royalty. Besides her children, who was truly on Queen Nefertiti's side? Nobody. And everyone forgets that fact. But everyone's quick to open their mouth. Oh, she's not a good ruler. Oh, she wasn't found. Oh, she's a bad mother. I think we need to refrain from using those words before she comes. Well, she is back. But it's only a matter of time. You don't have to believe me. But everything I say is facts. You can look up yourself. New Kemet will happen. History always repeats itself. It's only a matter of time. Now, before we go, I want to quickly touch base on the royal rankings because there seems to be a lot of confusion. Can you see that? All right, give me a second. Let me get my footing together. Question?
I think I know some of the royal rankings.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Pharaoh, co-pharaoh, royal wife / royal family, advisors. I think scribe is next. Scribes, high priests.
Hold on. The royal family
/ royal wife.
/ wife. Advisors?
Yeah, advisors. I think the scribes.
No. Give me a second. It's really not on this phone. Because now I can't find it. Oh, found it. I want to get the order correct. I have everything written here. The advisors, the high priestesses. Like I said, high priestesses aren't gods and goddesses. They are a vessel to receive knowledge from the divine. However, gods and goddesses are titled to divide because it could be high priest and then high priestesses. Next is the nobles and court officials. Then is the scribes. Then it's the military and generals. Military generals and officials. Then it's the Anunnaki. And a lot of people don't believe in the Anunnaki, but we're going to do another segment on that later.
It's aliens, and they are real.
They don't like being called aliens.
And they're
They are
not.
extraterrestrial beings. Okay? Show some respect, please.
The Greeks or whatever separated.
And the last is the heads of council and construction. Because we need a head of construction to make sure all of our infrastructure is built to last. Under is the farmers,
The teachers,
artisans, teachers, laborers, construction team, owners, business owners, musicians, and at the bottom is the invaders, equals the prisoners of war. Like I said before, if you are not, and you don't have your Ankh and identification, and you try to cross our borders, we will turn you away. If you're not accepted for initiation, you will be turned away. We'll give you one slap on the wrist, but if you come back a second time, you will be killed or considered a prisoner of war. And if you make it past, you will have rights. Maybe even get initiated in. But since you don't obey and follow the first slap on the wrist we gave you, there has to be consequences to those actions. Right? And there's many other titles that I didn't put down. I just wanted to break down the royal rankings and the other rankings as well. As many of you guys know, there will be no college for lieutenants.
College is a scam.
College is a scam. You need to get a trade or internship for a craft, and you go from school from age 3 to 14. 15, 16, and 17, you should be working on your trade, craft, or choosing a position to start working on. Also, every person in royal ranking will receive a home. Even the commoners receive your home. Anyone that could pay, it's usually given to you for a fraction of the cost, but if you want a bigger home, you have to pay. There'll be different systems. We'll have our own money. Everything's going to be different. We have our own rules, principalities that you'll be known of. Like I said, you can tell if you're commanded by blood. And if you want to be initiated in, you have to be approved by and voted on in a meeting. Then initiated in, then you will get your ANK. Yes.
NAMI. So the guardians choose where the kids live.
What?
So the guardians choose where the kids live.
The kids live with their parents. And depending on their title, their job, and their rank, it depends on where they will live. The person that lives in the worst conditions will be obviously the prisoners of war. But if you're in royal ranking, you will be living very well. And another thing about royal rankings, you don't have, most of these people here, they only work about, except for the teachers and the farmers and the laborers and the construction team, because they pay more. Everything else has to contribute at least 3 times a week. Other than that, you don't have to work. As soon as you meet your contributions for 3 times a week, you have the rest of the week to do whatever you want to do. However, if you're in royal rank, you don't have a break. You are service to the people. Yes.
What if the creator has a kid? Will they live in a big house or something like that?
They will live in a decent sized home unless they pay for a bigger home. We will have different houses by different tiers. Okay? Any more questions?
No.
Alright. Thank you guys for tuning in. Any questions, comment below. Hit me up directly. Like I said, this is gonna happen with or without your support, so it's gonna happen, and I'm happy that I pleased the gods by speaking my truth. Before the sun was not out, it was very rainy. It looked like it was gonna be a gloomy day. After I started speaking the truth about my past life, and the sun came out, things are starting to look up, and I'm grateful for today. I'm grateful for this live, and yes, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay blessed, stay safe, stay positive, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bye, people.